Everybody at one point has been scared by a younger or older sibling, right? I can pinpoint multiple times my younger brother has gave me a good jump. Yet the best scares I have ever received had to come from my older sister. Before we moved away from our childhood home in New Jersey, my sister had to watch my younger brother and I on some nights while our parents were out. My brother, being very young at the time, fell asleep early-ish. I did not really like to go to bed when I was younger, so I would cause the most problems. My sister would counteract this by locking me in my room and turning off the flow of electricity into my room. I, being a 7 or 8-year-old kid afraid of the dark, would bang like a lunatic trying to get out of the darkness. After a couple of minutes, she would put a blanket over herself and finally unlock the door. I would come flying out of the room only to be faced with a monster of some sort. The thing that creeped me out the most about this monster was that it was concealed under a blanket. There are millions of possibilities of what this creature could look like underneath that. After a couple of minutes of her attacking me with this blanket and myself screaming bloody murder, she would eventually take the blanket off and tell me to go to bed. I would always be emotionally and physically drained, so after a few seconds, I would pass out. She did this only about 3 or 4 times since my parents started to go out less and less as time went on. The scariest time this happened, though, was on a Saturday evening. My parents had to take my younger brother to the hospital for unknown reasons at the time. I was playing video games, so I barely made out what my mom said when she went out the door. It was something along, "Be back soon, stay out of trouble, Laura will be home." I heard a noise come from the adjacent room of mine. It was my sister's room, which was one place in the house I was not allowed to go into. It sounded like a door was opening, but I debunked it as her going through the closet because her room door was shut. An hour went by and I was getting really loud and obnoxious with this game I was playing. The door to my sister's room opened and I knew that she was going to put me to bed. Suddenly, my heart sank because the room went dark. I let out a cry of anger and fear. All the progress I made on that game was gone, and I knew it happened over another stupid joke of my sister's. The door slammed shut, and I was covered in complete darkness. I started to bang like usual. I really wished I just went to bed or hid. The door flew open, and there it stood. The one thing that scared me as a kid. The blanket monster. Something was different about this time, though. It stood in the hallway much taller than how Laura normally was. It let out this weird groaning noise, which made me almost piss my pants. The creature inched closer to me as I started to step back. I must have tripped on one of my controllers because I fell backwards and hit my head on something. The final things I remembered in that moment was the front door opening and the blanket falling to reveal nothing was there. Laura approached me and must have thought I passed out because she tucked me in. I thought for the longest time that someone came to the door and my sister stopped the fun to check who it was. After 3 years of living in that house, we moved away to the south. I am currently 16, so it has been a while since my sister has tried to scare me with that corny routine. My past self was so stupid. How could I not realize it was just some facade? I remember a couple of days ago, my sister and I were talking about the whole blanket monster thing. I still can't believe you were afraid of a blanket. It wasn't the blanket, it was what I pictured under the blanket, you ass. But you got me really good that one time when Taylor went to the hospital. What are you talking about? I was at a friend's house when Mom told me to come home and watch you. What? That's not true. I pissed you off with too much noise, so you screwed with me like always. Come on, stop fucking with me. Jared, I have no idea what you are talking about. You're actually starting to scare me. To save both of us from losing our minds over this, I lied and pretended that I was trying to scare her. I have a look of fear and dread every time I look at that blanket. Sometimes I hear the noises at night, like something is being dragged. I shrug it off and fall asleep. Unfortunately, I've been sick the past couple of days, so I have been losing my mind with cabin fever. The family went to see a movie, so I'm currently alone. That's odd. I just heard a door open. They can't be home this early. They just left 2 hours ago. Shit. The power just went out. It's not even storming here. I gotta go get some flashlights. I hate the dark.